Hello and welcome. You are now tuned into The Local Lens, the podcast where we go inside our community's experience with the drug epidemic. Our show is coming to you from Stanton, Kentucky, a small town nestled at the foothills of Appalachia. And on this week's episode, we are going to be featuring a very, very important perspective. We have Wendy Anderson joining us, and she is a peer support specialist, which, if you're unfamiliar with that job, a peer support specialist is someone who is in long-term recovery, and their job is to help other people work through their recoveries. So one peer support specialist can be responsible for getting like 50 to 100 other people into recovery and help them stay in recovery. So Wendy's job specifically, though, is to work at the Syringe Exchange in Powell County, which, if you're unfamiliar with Syringe Exchange programs, those are programs where people can bring used syringes in and exchange them for unused and new syringes. This is a harm reduction program that is out there to help people prevent the spread of infectious diseases like HIV and Hepatitis C. And we're going to hear a lot about that specific part of this today. And then we're going to hear about how the Syringe Exchange is actually successful in what it does locally, at least for us in Powell County, because this is coming from the person who is helping run the program, so we can trust this source, right? So let's go on and get into this interview. I'm your host, Nate Brooks, and I will be guiding you along through this conversation. This show has been funded by the Powell County Health Department for the Powell County Cares Grant as a bunch of efforts to help prevent overdoses and prevent fatal overdoses especially. And then it's also being funded by Northeastern Kentucky Rio, so a big thanks to both of these groups. And also a huge thanks to Wendy Anderson for being brave enough to come onto the show, and a shout out to S.P.A.R.K Ministries, her employers, who we work pretty closely with here at the health department. And I would like to encourage you listeners to share this show with your friends and family and anybody you think might need to hear these stories and these lessons. Well, let's go on and get into the interview. This is The Local Lens. These are our people using our voices, telling our stories, because no one sees it like we do. Would you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Wendy Anderson. I'm a adult peer support specialist at the S.P.A.R.K office, as well as a Casey Law advocate. I work at the Needle Exchange in the court system.
All right.
Helping people with their recovery.
And it seems like you do a good job. And what I've heard from what goes on at the Syringe Exchange, you do a good job with it.
Yeah, so we're having really good results from the exchange. We sent 4 people to treatment last week from there. For me, it's really just a connection point in meeting people where they're at and just, talking to them and letting them know that there is hope and there's a different way. And so we do all kinds of different stuff up there. Last Thursday, we gave every single person a thing of Girl Scout cookies.
Okay.
You know, most days we pass out hygiene to them and also just, kind of talk to them about what they have going on, what can I do to help you, that type of stuff.
Yeah, so I was actually about to ask pretty much what you just answered. Like, in your words, what is a Syringe Exchange Program?
A Syringe Exchange Program for me is really just a connection point to meeting that crowd and, just offering them help, really. That's what it is for me. I mean, I know that it cuts down diseases, even as going as far as offering treatment for Hepatitis C, which I have had myself.
How was that?
Well, it was amazing.
Hepatitis C was amazing. What was
getting
amazing?
the treatment.
Getting the treatment for it.
Was
okay,
amazing.
Yeah.
So once you've been in addiction and, you've put your body through so much stuff, and whenever you come out of it and you're doing good and you're walking in your recovery, you have effects on your body that you've, that you put yourself through over the years. And so I was that person that had contracted hepatitis C from using syringes, and thank God that I was able to get treated for it. And today I am hepatitis C negative.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Hepatitis free, baby.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so the exchange does that,
mm-hmm.
and I think that's amazing.
What was it like to have hepatitis C? That's kind of a weird question, I'm sure, but
Well, I mean, so it keeps you fatigued and tired all the time, because your liver is a filter for your body, and so when that's messed up, really, I mean, it causes yellow skin, yellow eyes, and it can progress into cirrhosis and actually, be fatal.
mm.
So, I was very blessed to be able to get treated for it. And, I had it like 15 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Shoot.
Yep.
And I had it was Scott Seitz. He's a nurse practitioner. He described it to me as like, once you get hepatitis C, it kind of just opened the door for other diseases and like problems to start happening.
Right.
And it's just kind of like...
And so your immune system is, not so good, and you get sick easier. But the worst part for me was being tired all the time, and also in the back of your head, you're scared because you know that you've did this to yourself, and it's kind of a scary feeling. But yeah, so I took one pill a day for 8 weeks, and it's gone.
Oh, that's all it was?
Yep. A lot of people don't know that they have it, but at the exchange on Thursdays, you can get tested. And so if your results are positive, then they refer you to somewhere that you can get treated for it.
So this is always kind of not really confused me, but like for what reason would somebody come to the Syringe Exchange? Like how do they hear about it, and why would they be like, yeah, I'll go to the health department?
So I think they hear about it through just word of mouth, through that population. And they come because, they want to use clean needles, and they're going to get it anyway, honestly. When I was in the madness, I mean, you're going to get it somehow. Whether it's buying it, off the drug dealer, or using dirty needles. And so I think that they hear about it just through that population, and they come, and they bring back what they're given, and they get new ones.
Yeah.
And so it really is a disease prevention too.
Yeah. If there was any way you could improve the Syringe Exchange, what would you do?
I guess I would probably, there's things that I would buy to give out to people, just basic need stuff. I mean, a lot of times we have hygiene and things like that, but there's sometimes that, people don't even have food.
Yeah. But there are services in town that do the food. It's just on the other side of town, and transportation's tough for a lot of people, and it's, yeah.
Yeah, so transportation is pretty, rough whenever you're in addiction. And so they do come probably, in crowds, because everyone's probably catching a ride there. But I do refer them to, sometimes I'll send them to S.P.A.R.K. If we have food at S.P.A.R.K, I'll send them to S.P.A.R.K. I'll send them to the food bank, or give them a number to call, or something like that. But I would probably buy things, if I could improve the Syringe Exchange, like water.
Yeah.
Some of them participants haven't ate in days. And so it's just giving them giving them water. Or like I did that last Thursday, I gave them Girl Scout cookies and water.
Yeah.
And so everyone was happy with that. But, and probably have a peer support or someone who can do assessments on the spot and more room.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we don't have enough room.
There's not much room there, yeah. And that might be a COVID thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know, though. I didn't see it before COVID. I didn't start working with this until COVID was already in. So, I don't know.
But other than that, I mean, it's working very well.
How do you know it's working?
Well, because I'm sending people to treatment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You just told me, like, last week you sent 4 people.
Yeah, that's how I know it's working. And they call me.
Mm.
They call me after, beyond the exchange. And, you know, I give them my card and I'm like, here, call me. I don't care if it's 3 o'clock in the morning. And you're in the trap house. And you're done. You want help, call me. I'll come get you.
Yeah. So
or I'll send somebody to come and get,
yeah.
I will help you.
Yeah.
Because I've been there. And they do call me.
So tell me now a little bit about yourself. We'll get back into how we see the effects of the syringe exchange, but we need to know who you are.
So I've been in recovery for 7 years. It'll be 8 years in August. I had a pretty rough raising with my biological parents. It was rough, and I ended up in foster care, and I would run away from there, and so I finally landed in the Hope Hill Children's Home in Mount Sterling, and I met Janelle Brewer. She worked there, and so she had so much love to give, and the children would go on outings and they would go with their parents. And, well, I never had anybody to come and get me, And so Janelle would take me home with her on the weekends or, on the outings that you get. And eventually it got time for me to either get adopted or just kind of my time was up there. And so she took me to her house one day, and Darren asked me, would I like to come live with them? That they considered me their kid. And so it was amazing, and I said yes. And so Janelle quit her job there and got her foster care license, and she took me home.
Cheers to it.
So yeah, they're amazing.
Were you like 17 then? Something like that?
I was 16.
16? Yeah.
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 I was 15 when I went to Hope Hill, and so I was 16. Well, so it was amazing. It's the first time I really felt real love and got to see what a family was about, and, that people worked and just all kinds of stuff. And, I went to high school here, and even whenever I turned 18, I signed myself back over to the state because I was still in school. And I graduated here, and so long story short, I ended up leaving, and I was just, I guess as a child, you want to know why you're not wanted. You have like this rejection, abandonment issues, and so I ran back to where I was from, and it was just a complete mess, and I ended up getting on drugs, and so I was just, out there, and Janelle actually thought I was dead because I was so ashamed of what I had become that I wouldn't even answer the phone for her. I just lost all contact. Well, I ended up getting into some trouble, and it was, I went to prison.
What did you go to prison for? Was that just trafficking, I guess?
Well, no, it wasn't trafficking. It was related to drugs, I guess, but for like check forgery, things like that.
Yeah.
And so I ended up going to prison, and while I was in prison, I just had a spiritual awakening one day. It was just like I don't know what led to it. I guess we'd been going to church, and just one day it was like God started talking to me, and so I totally surrendered right there, in a prison cell, and from that moment I started getting my act together. Like, you know, I wasn't getting write-ups. I was doing what I needed to do to go home. And so when it got time to go home, I really didn't have anywhere to go. And so I thought, well, I'll just go home. And so I called Janelle and asked her if I could come home.
Yeah.
And she was like, well, we'll have to ask Darren.
Yeah.
And so she asked
Yeah.
him, and he was like, why, yeah. Come on home.
Yeah.
You know we love you. Come home. And so I did, and I mean, it's been amazing. I have such a good support group. I've been home for 3 years now.
Yeah.
And the second day I was like sitting at S.P.A.R.K behind the desk. I had no idea about anything. I didn't know what Casey's Law was. I didn't mean anything. I had no idea what was going on here, but I just followed her around for 2 years, learning. And I don't even know. I'm in college. I'm fixing to graduate college.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah.
There you go.
And I love helping people. I love giving back.
It seems like you are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so let's get back into the Syringe Exchange then. Like, you've gone through these changes yourself.
Yes.
Prison was
Everything.
where you found... Prison was like the place where you were when you changed.
Yes.
How does it feel seeing that in other people?
So, seeing that in other people?
Any kind of change, I guess. Not necessarily through prison.
It's just like, it feels good to see people change and to be able to help them to change. Sometimes I've had to learn how to not take it personal.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm learning that in school too, about like just the whole human services thing. But it's hard not to take it personal when you put so much time in to people. Mm-hmm. And, they say relapse is part of recovery, but it doesn't have to be, but it does happen. And I just still just love them where they're at, because I have been there.
Has that been challenging for you at all to keep on, because I could see where somebody would want to, if I was in recovery, I could definitely imagine where I might just want to flee anything having to do with it and go take care of myself in some corner somewhere.
Yeah. Well, addiction is a disease, and every day you fight to stay sober, honestly, because it's so much easier to go do something to cover up your pain and hurt, and that's what's going on with these people. I don't really struggle so much today like I used to, but you have to learn what it is that makes you get high. Because nobody just gets high because they want to. They get high to cover up a pain inside of them, from some type of trauma. For me, it was like from being child molested, as a child. So, and a lot of people have that, a lot of girls especially have that issue. And so you just, they're just not in addiction because they want to be. They're in addiction because something's happened to them and they don't know how to deal with it. And so, and then, you grow up and you're on drugs and you have kids, and then you don't have your kids. And so that's another thing that, that hurt and pain Really, the key to recovery and to healing is self-forgiveness. It is. Because we're the hardest on ourselves. And if you can forgive yourself, it's so freeing. It's like, I don't even know how to explain it. But once you forgive yourself, everything else just starts to fall in place, and you start to forgive other people. You know, self-forgiveness, I believe, is the key to healing.
Say that you have the key to healing is a pretty bold thing to say, but she has lived this and she's experienced it, so I feel like we can trust her. Now we're going to go into something called moral recognition therapy.
If you really apply yourself, it'll teach you about your thinking and your thoughts and why you think the things you do, because, you know, a lot of people are raised to think things that isn't true. You know, like, it's okay to sell drugs. They're going to get it somewhere. Or that cheating, for me, that was one thing. It's okay to sell drugs. I thought everybody did. You know, it was normal to sell pot. That was, you know, because that's what my biological dad did. He sold pot for a living.
So I have a tough question for you then. So you just said this, that it is okay to sell drugs because they're going to get them anyways. That is also something that they say at the Syringe Exchange. They say it's okay to give, like, the needles out because they're going to get the needles anyways.
Right.
What's the difference between these two?
So the exchange is for a good purpose. There's all kinds of great things that outnumber what selling pot is. You know, you see what I'm saying? Like,
because to be clear, nobody is selling syringes
anything
at the health department.
Right.
It's not a sales thing.
It's not.
It's not. And I would like to step back in here and just clarify why I was bringing that up in the first place. The overlap here between these two things, between the syringe exchange and between selling drugs, is this. People are going to use drugs anyways. Now, this is where the split happens, though. When you're applying that statement to selling drugs, it's people are going to use drugs anyways. I may as well profit off of that. Versus the syringe exchanges, people are going to do drugs anyways. We may as well give them a way to not get HIV or hepatitis C. And even further than that, you're trying to get people into the doors of the health department so that you can connect them to treatment options and get them into recovery. So now we're going to shift and talk a little bit about what that part of the syringe exchange is like, what getting people into recovery there is like. Well, do you even convince people to get into recovery, or do they have to come to it on their own? What do you think there?
So, you can't, you technically can't force anyone. I guess you can through Casey's law, but they don't, I don't know how to explain it, but I'm trying to think of the words. You don't have to force them, you know, because most of the participants, life's so hard on them anyway. They don't want to live like that. They really don't. But addiction is so strong. Every morning when you wake up, you have to have some substance to even feel normal for your day. Just to feel normal. So a lot of times, you know, they're desperate anyway. And so when there's someone there that's just saying, "Hey, how you doing?" You know, some of the participants haven't probably even been asked that in a long time because no one cares how they're doing. Honestly, a lot of people don't have anyone. And so, yeah, I don't have to force them. I'm just, you know, there saying, "Hey, you know, how you doing?" Just start talking to them, conversation. And before you know it, you know, they tell you their problems. And I'm like, "Well, I can help you with this, or I can do this, or you can do this. I've been there. I did that. This is what I did. And, I was doing the exact same thing you're doing. And this is what I did. And this is, how the answer to the problem. And if you're ready, we can go right now.
Yeah.
Honestly.
And this is what happens at the Syringe Exchange.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if I can't go right there, I'll send them to the S.P.A.R.K office, and one of our peer support there will. We've had people go right there on the spot. We're doing assessments in the back room, or, and really, it's not even persuasion. It's not bribing. Sometimes I do say, "Hey, what are you doing? I thought you was gonna call me."
Yeah.
Sometimes I do that, but I really don't. They just, they're tired. They're tired.
Yeah.
And they don't want to live like that. It's the truth. Nobody does. But like I said, they're just trying to cover up some type of hurt.
Yeah. Well,
habit,
that's we're doing great. I've got this is the final question for you. You are given a megaphone and you get to address whoever you want to address. Who are you talking to, and what are you going to tell them?
What would I say?
Yeah.
Recovery's possible. Jesus is the answer. If you're mad at Jesus, then we can find something that fits you, that, you're not getting beat with the Bible. Because a lot of people are mad at God in the beginning, and they don't want that. So we have places that aren't faith-based, but recovery's possible. I'm here to help you. I'll walk right beside you the whole way. And I love them. I love them. And it's more than just giving out a needle. It's a connection point.
That's pretty appropriate too, because it does come to a needle comes to a point.
Yeah.
So that's nice.
Yeah.
Well, that's all the time that we have today. Thank you all for tuning in. We hope that you're taking this lesson to heart. There's a lot of stuff to pull from Wendy's experience, and one of the main things being that it's important to be there for people. There have been a lot of times through Wendy's life herself where the fact that somebody else was there caring for her really changed her life. And now she's doing that same thing for other people. And really, I don't see how people could choose intentionally to not be that for other people. So when you're thinking about things like our Syringe Exchange, consider supporting it. Be on our side. You don't have to do anything to support it other than just to be understanding that it's good. Good things are happening there. Well, anyways, we're going to go on and get off of here. Thank you all for tuning in and for listening to The Local Lens. We would like to thank Wendy for coming on the show, first of all. I would also like to thank WSKV for broadcasting the show, and a big thanks to the Health Department and Northeastern Kentucky Rio for funding the show. I'm your host, Nate Brooks. Thank you all for tuning in. Please consider sharing it with a friend. And remember, these are our people, using our voices, telling our stories, because no one sees it like we do.